I'd like to officially call to order the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting of September the 12th. Madam Commission Secretary, can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Armando?
Present.
Commissioner Fuentes?
Present.
Vice Chair Carter?
Present.
Chair Ludden?
Present.
And Commissioner Barajas has an excused absence.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Armando, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Everyone please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Armando. This is the time for public comments to address the Commission on matters which are not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of our Commission. As a reminder, if you'd like to participate, please fill out an orange speaker card, turn it in to the Commission Secretary, and your name will be called. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. When you are called to speak, you will see 3 lights, the first being green. When you have 30 seconds left, the light will turn to yellow, and when your time has expired, the light will turn to red. At that time, your public comment period is ended, and the Commission requests that you conclude your comments. Madam Commission Secretary, have we received any speaker cards?
I have not.
Thank you. This is the time for the Commission to consider matters listed under the consent calendar, which includes item 1. Do any commissioners wish to discuss this item, or is there a motion to consider this item?
I move for approval of consent.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Barajas absent.
Thank you very much. Now we will open the public hearing for item number 2. Community Development Director Gail Ackerman will introduce this item.
Yes, our first item is a use permit to establish a dog daycare, grooming, and boarding facility. And Jennifer Mansour is here this evening with staff report.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a use permit for the establishment of UC Barkley, a dog daycare, grooming, and boarding facility proposed to be located in the existing commercial center located at the east corner of Regency Lane and Lake Forest Drive. The business includes a grooming room, 2 indoor dog play areas, 20 private kennels, and a dog condo area for small or older dogs. The business will also include dog training and limited retail sales of dog products as ancillary services. The proposed facility could accommodate a maximum of 40 dogs and 5 employees at any given time. All business activities associated with the business will occur within the existing building, which already has air conditioning. The business owner is proposing to install quiet board water-resistant panels on the walls adjacent to the other tenants to reduce the noise impacts from any barking dogs. Conditions of approval have been added to the project to ensure that all the doors to the business remain closed when not being utilized, and that the business complies with the city's noise ordinance. The proposed use is in compliance with all applicable zoning code requirements, and as conditions will be compatible with the surrounding uses. Accordingly, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt the resolution approving this use permit. The applicant for this project is in the audience tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this matter?
Daniel Choi?
Okay. Welcome, Daniel. If you please give your name and place of residence.
Yes. Hello. My name is Daniel Choi. I live in Irvine since 2010. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once more, my name is Daniel Choi, and I'm currently a professional groomer, and I prepared this business for about 3 years. And it is my honor to be here tonight to introduce my new company called UC Barkley. Yeah, thank you. UC Barkley is a full-service animal care facility dedicated to consistently providing high customer satisfaction by rendering excellent pet care services. We will maintain a friendly, creative work environment which respect diversity, ideas, and hard work. Our mission is to provide a excellent dog care services in a pet-friendly environment to our Lake Forest customers, of course, both pet and owners. And I want them to receive a excellent service in playful and safe environment. Excuse me. Our major product category can divide by 4 sections. First one is daycare and overnight boarding. And second one is Supreme pet grooming services and pet bedding services. I'm good on that. And animal behavior classes is dog training services also going to be available. And last, I want retail pet related supplies and dog treat. UC Berkeley will occupy on 21-25 square foot spaces, and the facility will accommodate a maximum, as she mentioned, 40 dogs for the daycare, boarding, and grooming. But I hope 40 dogs, but average, I think 15 to 30 dogs daily basis. And the area includes the lobby and retail area, and the inside facility has a kitchen, laundry, utility room, retail area, and step lounge and office area. And for the dog, we have a play and training area, and of course kennel for the dogs, and the dog condo for the small size dog and old dog. For my experience, that's very important to make them separately. And also, of course, we have a grooming room and bathing room. We're gonna have, as Jennifer explained, 5 employees, and our operate hours gonna be weekday 7 to 7, and Sunday 7 to 4, and we will be supervision and examinate of all the dog upon entry for the safety of dogs and the steps, and all the animal waste is a kind of a issue that will be picked up immediately and cleaned up immediately, and the area of the waste with mop or wet vacuum, and all the pet solid waste will be bagged in a small plastic bag and deposit of a covered trash can with a heavy duty plastic bag. And then as necessary, the can will be dumped into the covered dumpster for the spaces. Handling noise is one of the key point, I believe. We have 40 dogs. We calculated, and the 40 dog, worst scenario, 40 dog barking once is about 100 to 103 decibel maximum, and outside the building, it will reduce to about 50 to 59 decibel. I researched this about same as the noise of a AC unit of outside of building. So within 100 feet away, it will reduce the nearby 30 decibel. It's a very, very small noise, like a talking noise or less than this. So about 20 feet away from my store, there will be no sounds from us because of barking dog. So nearest residence from my place will be 744 feet away. So, which means should be no impact to our nearest customer because of a barking dog. As I mentioned very first, I prepared this business for 3 years, and I'm currently working as a main groomer at one of the best pet hotel at Irvine for a couple of years. I think the Lake Forest is the right city for start our adventure because very nice people, of course, and a good house, expensive, nice houses, a lot of animal lovers here. So, but there's only a couple of hotels, and I believe 1 or 2 grooming store nearby. Lots of customers go to the Mission Viejo or the Rancho Santa Margarita. There's more grooming stores. I want them to stay here, and we're gonna offer quality dog daycare and boarding services and retail for all the supplies and grooming, which can be a one-stop shop solution for the local pet lover for Lake Forest. Thank you. And I really like this city, and I want to open a business here, really want. So please give me a chance to having a business here. And if you have any question, please let me have. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very thorough. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we have any written communication on this subject?
I have not received any.
We'd like to close the public hearing, bring it up to staff. Do you have any questions of the applicant?
I just have one. How many dogs do you anticipate will be staying overnight? I know you got 15 to 30 maybe during the day, but
Yes, overnight, I believe 20 dog, or the maximum with a small dog, maybe 28 dog.
okay.
Yes.
Now, I noticed that the sleeping arrangements at night would be not necessarily in the pens, right? They would be in the open area, the play area, and things of that nature. So
No, they will be we are trying to separate after hour
Right.
to the individual kennel, except the sibling dogs or family dog. And if we need to put the dog with the open area, the staff gonna be stay there, and he will watch. And if there's immediate like accident by dog, so he will pick it up immediately,
Okay.
and he will sleep in the morning time.
all right, thank you.
So just confirm too, with you have a large dog, and doesn't like to go in a kennel, gets whatever, so that would be, there would be a facility that a larger dog could sleep in an open area, and the employee would be there as well?
Well, first
what-
of yes.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yes. First of all, for my experience, aggressive dog. Well, I'm not gonna take aggressive dog. Any aggressive to the staff or the dog can harm to other person or dog. That's the risk. So we trying to avoid those risks. We're gonna test examination. Open the entrance of dog. We're gonna do like a half of day. We're gonna see how does the dog's gonna active, or if he goes well with the other dog, he will play with the other dog. But if like a big large dog, then he will stay in the kennel. And upon request of the owner, we might walk the dog if possible. But if not, then they will stay dog. And they once every 4 hours he will play at the play area.
So when you walk the dogs, the walking is always done inside the facility, or do you walk the dogs
Yeah, I
outside?
want to stay in the inside. Yes, so we're not going to have any outside activity.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fuentes, do you have any questions? No. Any other questions from commissioners? No. Can we entertain a motion to approve staff recommendation?
I'll close the public hearing and make a motion to accept staff's recommendation to bring you to Lake Forest. Exciting.
Thank you. I am.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's vote.
One more. Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Barajas absent.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please come to my store with your dog, okay? My
Welcome,
best, please.
welcome to Lake Forest. Thank you for such a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll open the public hearing for item number 3.
Yes, item 3 is a plan sign program for a new freeway-oriented signage for the Hilton Garden Inn on Lake Center Drive, and Amanda Loffer has a staff report this evening.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a planned sign program for the Hilton Garden Inn located off Lake Center Drive adjacent to the 5 freeway. The subject hotel was previously a Holiday Inn and is currently going through a minor exterior remodel to change over to the Hilton Garden Inn. The existing hotel building was constructed prior to the code requirement for a planned sign program for any freeway-oriented signs and does not have an existing planned sign program for any of the signs on site. Therefore, a planned sign program is required for any new freeway-oriented signs. The proposed planned sign program includes 2 wall signs along 2 building elevations that face the freeway. The signs are constructed of individually mounted channel letters and conform with all of the code requirements, including letter size and square footage. The planned sign program also includes a new monument sign that is located in the same location as the previous hotel monument sign along the Lake Center street frontage. The signs proposed under this planned sign program do not create a distraction for vehicle or pedestrian traffic, and all signs are in compliance with all applicable requirements in the sign code. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this planned sign program, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. The applicant is also here as well. Thank you.
We have any,
Peter Bevan.
okay, come on up. Can you please give me your name and city residence?
I'm Peter Bevan, Santa Ana. So I'm the Director of Construction for S3 Hotel Group. We bought the property in 2009 when we built the Holiday Inn. It's been 10 years with our lease with the Holiday Inn, and now we're going to the Hilton Garden Inn, hence the sign renovation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I can.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
So just essentially the building, everything's, is essentially the same, you're just changing the sign?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, you may do stuff inside, whatever,
Yeah,
to make
new
it your
finishes
brand,
and
but
thing, and just
nonetheless,
make it look better.
it's, okay, thanks.
Yeah, my question was going to be on the exterior. You just painted it, didn't you?
Yep,
It's amazing.
it looks great, right?
I mean, the
such a
change that
difference.
was able to be facilitated just by,
Yeah.
adding a different texture, contour, separation by color.
Yeah.
Makes it look like an entirely different building.
I know you
It's a
drive
very good
past,
job.
it looks like a new hotel.
Very good job.
Okay. Okay, has the commission secretary received any written communications on this matter?
I have not.
Okay. Do any members of the commission have further questions for the applicant? Okay. Would someone like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing, bring it up here and vote?
I'd just like to make a comment before I do, but I like the signage. It's simple and it's straightforward. Sometimes people just go over with a heavy block sign, et cetera, et cetera. This is, I think, aesthetically pleasing to the building. And thank you for keeping it within the confines. It makes the hotel look classy.
Yep.
It really does. So I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing.
You're welcome to sit down
Okay,
if you like.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing and move for staff recommendation for approval.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Barajas absent.
Congratulations on your new signage. Thank you. Now we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, and Community Development Director Gail Ackerman will introduce this item.
Yes, this is also a planned sign program for wall signage for the existing Stater Brothers Market in Sycamore Plaza Shopping Center. And Amanda Loffer also has a report on this item this evening.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a planned sign program for the existing Stater Brothers Market in the Sycamore Plaza Shopping Center. Stater Brothers has applied for a planned sign program for wall signage. A planned sign program is required because the proposed signs exceed the maximum letter height and number allowed along the front elevation. The proposed planned sign program includes a new main tenant identification sign and 3 new secondary signs along the front elevation. There is currently an existing secondary sign for the Wells Fargo that will remain in place. The main identification wall sign features a 7-foot tall letter S in the Stater Brothers sign copy. As described in the staff report, staff reviewed other planned sign programs for shopping centers with major tenants and existing signage for other comparable grocery stores. Other grocery stores and major tenants in the city have been allowed up to a maximum letter height of 6 feet. Additionally, the proposed planned sign program includes a total of 4 secondary signs along the front elevation. Other planned sign programs, specifically in the Foothill Ranch Town Center, have allowed up to a total of 2 secondary signs for major tenants. The proposed planned sign program includes signage that is not compatible with other tenants within the center and exceeds what has been permitted for other major tenants and grocery stores throughout the city. For these reasons, staff is recommending that the maximum letter height be reduced to 6 feet and that the total number of secondary signs does not exceed 2. The draft resolution includes a condition of approval that requires the applicant to revise the planned sign program package to reflect these changes. Staff is recommending approval of this planned sign program with the additional condition to require the revision described. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and the applicant is also here as well. Thank you.
Once again. Okay. Jennifer, the signage's measurement includes the logo. Is that correct? So if we had a 6 foot, the logo could be 6 foot, and that seems to be where the problem is. Because if you go to 7, then all of a sudden we have the potential for a logo of 7 feet high too within the sign.
Yeah, the sign, the municipal code requires it's a letter or logo height.
Okay, so that's what stipulates the height really, is the inclusion of both the text and the logo that was in there. Because as I'm looking at this, the one thing I do like about it, keeping the 7 foot at this point in time is within discussion, is, well, I'll wait until we get up.
Yeah,
I'm going too far. Hold on.
I need to. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this matter?
Yes, Robin Bell, followed by Milton Solomon.
Please switch the orders.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Milton Solomon, one of the owners of the sign company ADS. You nearly answered the question, sir. However, let me put into perspective what we are asking for. Stater Brothers have just embarked on a major branding change. And we have already built 9, and there's still approximately 180 stores that are still going to be changed. The uniqueness of the Stater Brothers logo is that whereas before they were these big fat letters, very old, had been designed many, many years ago, and now they have changed the logo on which the S happens to be larger than all the other letters. So if I put into perspective what we are trying to do here for this particular store, we have an allowance of 200 square feet for the signage for that particular, well, it's 250 linear feet wide. The limit is 200 square feet per code. We're not asking for anything more than what code allows. However, if you take into account just the S alone, which is 7 feet tall, all the rest of the letters are 39 inches tall, which is a lot smaller. So if I show you something that's kind of interesting, at the end of the day, in the big scheme of things, and you look at the whole sign, that's what we're asking for, larger than 6 feet. It happens to be just that. It's just a few square inches. However, the problem that we have, if we take everything to 6 feet, it reduces the actual sign and the square footage on this particular elevation. And honestly, I've done this many, many times in front of many planning commissions and councils. We don't do anything where we think we are going to be presumptuous with regards to size. But if you look at what you have in front of you, the letters overall is the actual sign, the name Stater Brothers, is smaller square footage than what is existing. But it's comfortable in that area. Aesthetically, it's pleasing. Architecturally, I think it is right. And the one thing that we don't want to do is to put small letters or smaller letters that looks like it is out of place. You know, the one thing I've realized is that we never like to be compared to any other city, but I do need to tell you that we've just done at the Tustin Legacy, that's just by those big hangars just around the corner. The city had no limit on the height of the letters. However, the landlord had a sign program that limited the height to 4 feet. But when they looked at what the result would be with 4-foot letters, they immediately said, it obviously doesn't work. What is it that you need? And honestly, you can go out there, have a look at this, and you'll see how comfortable and really good it looks on the building. Pretty much that's what we're asking from you, is just to consider not the size of the one letter S. That's all it is, just one letter. But look at it in an overall picture, see how it fits on the building. It's all 200 square feet, and that's the item one that we're looking for. I know, and I appreciate what staff does. I really do. I mean, we've been around the corner, around the block many, many times. But if you take into account, we're asking for something else. Well, Stater Brothers wants to put up the word fresh, local, 3 additional words. This is something that they want to be able to compete with Amazon. It's an amazing, I mean, if you sit with these guys and understand where their branding and how they do with this, their philosophy is pretty interesting. So if I take those 3 words into account, we are still under, well, pretty 199 square feet. I mean, it's still 200 square feet, but it's still within what code will allow. I know there was a comment that was made that, well, if we allow these extra letters on there, it adds to the clutter on the building. Well, the interesting thing is just alongside, you have a building that is 180 feet wide. Stater Brothers is 250 feet wide. And on the 180 feet, you've got 9 tenants, 9 different signs. They're different colors, they're different fonts, and there's nothing much you can do because each tenant is allowed so many square foot per linear foot of frontage for his store. So I think that the word clutter is a little bit out of place for putting up signs on this particular elevation. I cannot be more specific. I'm trying to give this to you as detailed as possible, but implore that you consider the overall effect and not just the fact that a letter happens to be 7 feet instead of 6 feet. And if you have any questions, you know, I even took some pictures of all the signs that we have in the shop this afternoon, and it's just amazing to see what is actually being done. And an enormous amount of money is being spent by Stater Brothers on the inside, on the exterior, and the interior. And I think that your positive look at this would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Commissioner Fuentes has a question.
So of the 9 other signs of your 180 that you've got going on, were they the same size?
Were those each? Oh, no.
That were approved? You want me to see that far? Just no, it's okay. You don't have to.
They all, I beg your pardon, they're all individual tenants.
And are any over 7 feet?
Oh, no. No, they're within They just
No, I'm referring to the 9 signs that you said that you've already approved through Stater Brothers. You said you've already gone to 9 other stores and you put them in.
not more than 7. I think 7 foot was the limit that we had in Tustin.
So you've had a 7-foot sign. In
Oh,
Tustin.
yes.
Okay.
How many of the other 9 were 7 feet?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think there are 4 of them that are that are at 7 feet. You know, the interesting thing is that you look at the facades that Stater Brothers have, there's a lot of standardization as far as the elevations are concerned. So you're looking at the average. The 4-foot letters, the 4-foot letters might happen on a side elevation, but over their front entry, it sort of averages between, I would say, 5'6" to 7 foot. And that's only because the limit is not city or code. The limit is the actual elevation. There's a limit. If you've got a 6 or a 7 foot high facade, you can't put a 7 foot high letter. You could possibly put 5'6", because at the end of the day, it's got to look architecturally right. It's got to be aesthetically pleasing.
Okay, I have a follow-up. So you mentioned the 3 words, I count 4.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to be limited to 2 like staff recommends, which 2 of the 4 would you choose?
Oh, that's what's it, way out of my pay scale. That I would have to leave to Stater
Want my
Brothers.
opinion?
Sure.
I'd take out full service. Because that's, you eliminate 2 words and then you just have fresh and local. I mean, full service sounds like we're going to go get our hair done. But that's my opinion.
This is the compete with the Amazon, the person, the full service means to the millennials to get their. Hi, I'm Robin with ADS, his partner. The 3 signs, the fresh, the local, and the full service. The full service, this is what the millennials want. They want to be able to go on their phone and know, and to them, this means they can order their groceries and what have you, being right at that door. They don't got to mess around. They come in, they pay, they grab, and they go. And that's going to be the new phrase that, you know, we're probably right on the cutting edge of giving it to you right now, but I'm sure Ralph's and Food Flex and all of them are all going to be coming this way. They got to compete with Amazon.
Thank you.
And ma'am, as a matter of interest, Amazon have, I cannot implore how much Amazon and what they have done to retail. So many cities, we've just had a major change in the city of Murrieta, specifically for that reason. And what can we do as far as cities are concerned to help some of the retailers? Amazon suck the sales tax, suck their revenue out of their cash registers, and it's becoming a major problem. So pretty much the only people that are, or let's say the only tenants that so far are not really affected by Amazon are restaurants. But other than that, retail, listen, just come and talk to my wife and I can pull my hair out just listening to her and what she does on Amazon, or what she does on a telephone. It drives me crazy. And this is what, unfortunately, this is what's happening to our business and to retail. So anything that we can do to help will be appreciated.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine? I was just curious because I keep looking at these drawings. I'm trying to figure out where these extra 4 words go on the building. That's not really clear to me from your submission where the extra 4 words go.
May I bring this up?
Yes, you certainly may.
It's right there, Tom.
Right there.
Did I miss it?
Right there.
somehow?
Yeah, you did. It's all on one side.
Oh, is it small? Okay. So they're all on one side? Okay.
Yeah, Wells Fargo, that happens to be inside there. They've had
Okay.
that there for years, I believe. And it's just to add those 3.
Okay.
Same size, same color, same font.
Apologies, I have a hard time seeing red, so that's probably why I didn't see it. Thank you. So if we don't approve your 7-foot letter, what's your backup position? Do you have one?
A telephone call. What can I do? I mean,
it's a difficult situation for us. You have to understand that if we approve this, then we're, in a sense, creating a new precedent within the city.
well, let's consider the precedent that you think you might be setting. If it was Albertsons or Walmart or anybody, they were asking for 6-foot letters. Never mind 7 foot, just 6-foot letters. Each letter is 6 foot. And that's an enormous amount of square footage, depending on what they're allowed on that particular elevation. But if you take Stater Brothers, it's only the S, just an S. All the rest of the letters happen to be 39 inches, so that's 3 foot 3 inches. And he's right. It's small. Those letters are smaller than what is existing.
Okay.
Look, I understand, sir, that it comes to what code says and the precedent that you're setting. But I think that from a logical point of view, from an aesthetic point of view, I think it needs to be looked at as an overall. It's unique. And if you honestly and truly, if you don't think that we've discussed this with Stater Brothers, because now they have panels on small monuments that maybe are sometimes 15, 16, 18 inches high, it creates a problem. They will not budge from making the S any smaller, and the relationship between the S and the TATER, that will not change. We've tried it, not interested. So this is what we have. We're trying our best to keep with all the cities that we are going to. We don't want to have to come in front of planning commission after planning commission going over the same stories. What we're trying to do is keep within the same square footage, the area that has been given, that is allowed, and we keep it within that. And so far, I don't want to say it, but this is the first time that we've had to stand in front of anybody and ask for consideration.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Let me ask another question.
Sure.
So, regardless of the 7-foot S and Stater Brothers sign, this full service, local and fresh and all that, is that the trend that all of the Stater Brothers are going to try and do on all their stores? Or is this
Everyone.
just unique to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the Wells Fargo, not all the Stater Brothers
Oh,
have
no.
Wells Fargo. That's a
No.
separate.
Yes.
Okay. So,
I don't think that they've got a Wells Fargo in every one of their outlets.
right. So that'll stay the way it is.
Right.
And we're just talking about the one side.
Yes.
Of the bill. Okay.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Up here.
Yeah. Do we have any written communication on this subject?
I have not received any.
Okay. Okay. And we'll close the public hearing and bring it up here.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Then I think we're either looking for a motion to approve or not.
No,
Actually, I have a
think we need a
question.
You have a
discussion
question?
before
Yeah,
that.
I don't know we've closed the public hearing yet.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
I have a question of staff, and I don't know if it's Gail or the city attorney. What are the legal ramifications of allowing one store an extra foot? Does that set, we talked about precedent. If we word it carefully, can we allow an extra foot and not create a 7-foot sign law?
Chair Commissioners, so yeah, one decision made by the Planning Commission, it could set a precedent. I think even in this staff report, staff had looked at other plan sign programs for other grocery stores to take a look at, hey, what have we done in the past? And I think that helped guide their decision. Having said that, it's a guide, right? It's not like a legal, now you're locked into giving every next applicant that consideration, but it does certainly create, it could create a situation where the next applicant is aware and could say, I'm aware of this situation here, and could I also have consideration? So it doesn't lock necessarily the commissioners in, but it does serve as, you know, one of the plan sign programs that the commission has approved that staff and applicants and people would draw from. Does that help?
Could we then, doing that, if we approve that, as long as the square footage is under what we say, then that might prevent from having 7 foot all the way across in a situation, and it's a smaller, is that, I don't know if you're following what I'm saying. You have the allowed square footage
Right.
at another location,
Right.
maybe that wouldn't be approved because it's a smaller area or whatever. Right?
Commissioner Armando, I think you're talking about, you know, we'd take and look at, I'm sure staff would look at the facts of every situation, right? And, you know, I think the applicant made a point of this S is, the request is for this S to be larger, and it's unclear what future applications would look like.
Okay,
And
so I think what you're saying too is that
Right.
if we were to approve this, we wouldn't necessarily be locked into approving every one that came down because we did this before?
That's correct.
Okay.
The commission has discretion for each and every separate application. Staff, it would look at the facts of every case to make an individual decision on that individual application.
And then that would apply also then to the 3 additional signs that that they're requesting as well?
Right. And what Ms. Ackerman was reminding me is, you know, the resolution right now in the findings discusses 6 feet for the S. And so if the commission wanted staff to go a different way, we could update those findings and provide some more facts as to why the commission decided a certain way in this particular position. So people looking back on it could understand in this situation, this is why a decision was made.
Okay. Can I go?
Yes.
My turn? Okay. Very compelling what you presented. And you know, I didn't want to jump in before because that's where I was going. I fortunately or unfortunately have had the experience of dealing with these things throughout the development of the city. And I can remember Staples, Joann's being one in particular, where there was difficulty, and the difficulty is in 2 areas, and I think we can possibly massage this thing to where we can get to where we want to be. In the past, we've always had sign identification for entry and acknowledgement of where you were, what store were you at, et cetera, et cetera. It was for identification purposes. When we get into the 3 words, okay, that's more of a marketing type thing that our signage hasn't necessarily been involved with that. So that's one of the nuances that we're dealing with. What I find interesting about this, and it is different in that the font that you've used, okay, is not a bold font. It's a reduced font. It looks smaller than it is. And as a result, I see that it's not overstated, first of all, but the difficulty is the 7 feet and how we apply or have applied that in our sign ordinance to the logo itself also, okay? So I don't believe this is out of proportion with where we're placing the sign. It seems to fit perfectly within there at the height and the dimension that it is. And it's only because of the nature of the font that was used in presenting the sign. If this were a logo, I couldn't go that way. If it were block letters, once again, it would just be too overstated. It'd be just too much for the building. This to me, and it's not a logo, but it is a logo. But the logo is, the font being used in the logo makes it compatible with the building. And I think that is my criteria for saying I either like it or don't. And personally, I like it. I don't know whether if it were reduced in proportion, whether it would understate the sign on the facade or on the building. I don't know whether if it were proportionally brought down to the 6 feet S and the remaining letters being proportionally done, it probably would look very strange in the area that you're placing it. It would look small in relationship to what you're placing it within. And I personally don't find anything objectionable with it. But I do have to state that if it were a different font, if it were a different logo size or whatever have you, I possibly would. So mine would be, my thing would be basing on this, that due to the nature of the font, that I find it to be very proportionally sound with what we're asking for. The other ones I have a little more difficulty with. I understand where you're going, okay? But I don't understand the millennials. I'm sorry, I don't. Okay, I simply don't. Because this does not tell me, if I saw Fresh and Papa and Stater Brothers wasn't there, what does it tell me about the building? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't tell me what's there, who's there, or anything of that nature. It's more of a marketing aspect on the deal. And that one I have a little difficulty with. I'd like to see if staff could work out something to reduce that down to the 2. I understand it's proportionally across the building, but it doesn't make any sense to me. It simply doesn't. Millennials got to get out of their car, maybe walk 10 feet. Hopefully they won't have a coronary if they walk that far. But it might do them good to go inside and see how nice the store looks now since you've remodeled it. The inside is absolutely beautiful. I can't find anything because I'm an old dog. I go to the same place every time to pick up my stuff. Now I can't find anything, but it's laid out beautifully. Okay. That's my 2 cents I'd like to throw in. I think there is phrasing that can be placed to make this a unique, and that's what the sign program is to provide uniqueness in the decision for the sign. And I'm sure that staff, with some direction, can get there. I know you're very capable of doing so. Here again, the three words, I have 2, I'll go 2. I may go 2, I don't know. And there you get into the question, does full service count as 2 words? It is. Okay, there's the dilemma in what you're trying to do. Okay.
Just don't put a space in between.
Yeah, yeah.
A millennial typo?
A millennial typo, okay. So I don't know whether it adds value to the sign, but I think I'm going to have to leave that to staff. As far as the Stater Brothers thing, I'm okay as long as we can define it. That's me.
And just to be clear, you guys just make the signs, right? You guys, if they tell you to put Bozo the Clown sign, that's what you'll do. I mean, that's not up to you to make the decision.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
Okay, Jolene, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, let's get down.
I want some.
I know there's another question.
I need input. Okay.
I know there's another question.
You're closer to a millennial than I am.
Well, as an advertising major, I get what you're saying about the whole let's call it a logo. It's nicely put together. I like it. I know that when we put in all the new signs went into the Ralph's shopping center, and when I first drove in and they were still finishing up their painting and all these new signs were going in, I was like, whoa, what happened here? And this I don't know if that came through us or if it was just a redo. All right, well, it's my memory. But I was kind of blown away by just all of it. But I think it's because they're all different. And kind of like the retail to the left, it's all different. But because full service, fresh, local is the same. And I have a heart for trying to keep retail, because I mean, isn't that one of our biggest problems in all cities today, is how do we keep retail? And it's your bread and butter, it's everybody's bread and butter in town.
I think what you noticed was what we referred to previously as sign clutter. There's too much signage, and it's overwhelming when you look at it. You see the sign, you don't see it.
Because there's a lot of little stores in that shop.
A lot of little stores.
Yeah.
I understand perfectly what you're talking about with the smaller units that are, to the left of. But in putting those 3 words or 4 words, whatever it is, it's like having 4 different new tenants for a tenant identification sign on the building.
And I don't get it as a tenant identification, the way it's presented. That personally, I because of its certainly the color matches the Stater Brothers. It's that building stands alone. It's one big grocery store, and so I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. I don't know, but I kind of like the concept, and I do appreciate your millennial. I wish this guy was here because he'd have an interesting take on it. So these babies, they just get in our way.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm leaning towards the whole thing.
Okay. And regardless, I think we have to send it back to staff so they can bring it back to us in a format that we ask you to do. If it's 2 words or whatever have you. Because I think in this instance, we can go ahead and say, yeah, we're in favor of doing this, but then we have to have it redone so we can have a better look at it. That's up to you, Gail.
And I just to go with you, I really don't have a problem, and I think it looks fine with the 7-foot S. I generally speaking, I'm kind of not sure about the other ones too, but we could talk about that. That seems to me to be a marketing issue. I mean, Stater Brothers, I get ads from them all the time. It would seem that to advertise, hey, we're full service and we have this kind of thing, that would be how to reach people. I'm not sure that people just driving in the parking lot reading would know what full service really means and some of the other stuff. So I think we could probably work something out where they could put 2 things there. But aside from that, I think that the basic one with the 7-foot S or whatever, I think that blends in nicely and doesn't look overpowering. That would be my opinion on that.
I'd have a hard time sending this back and bringing it back to us. I don't know that we can't come to a decision right now because, our calendar's pretty busy between now and the end of the year. And if we can't make a decision on it today, why would we be able to make one?
Well, the only reason I mentioned that, I think in discussion, that was bounced around. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
If I could offer a suggestion, we'd be looking for direction for the commission. We would like to take the resolution back and bring it back to you at a subsequent meeting, only because that's a very valid point. If you have specific reasons why you don't feel this S at 7 feet is setting a precedent, we really want to immortalize that in the findings so that somebody else doesn't come in. And I think you've articulated a lot of reasons. So if you could come to a decision on the S and then come to a decision on the number of words, give us a little bit of your reasoning, we'd be happy to come back.
It seems to me like we ought to maybe make this as 2 resolutions instead of 1. Is that doable?
I would keep, it's one plan sign program. Let's keep it all in one. We can separate the 2 topics if we're going 2 different directions, but you could take action on the item, give us direction. We'll just bring the resolution back to make sure that we've encapsulated. Your other alternative would be to adequately express it to us this evening and just trust that we can make findings but we'd want them to see it.
Excuse me, I think the applicant would like to say something. We'll let him have a say.
Really, I appreciate this. I understand it was closed, but let me try and help this along. Every single sign program that we are busy formatting right now, everyone, for the Irvine Company, for Caruso, that we work for, the criteria, the critical element in that sign program is the square footage allowed. I cannot tell you how much aggravation, how much heartache the size of a letter is such a hindrance because, for instance, let's take Gap. just those 3 letters, if they were stuck with 4-foot letters on a building of that size, it would be out of all proportion. So what I'm going to try and help you with is that for future, for the sign program, as long as you have the limit on square footage for that building, doesn't matter. I beg your pardon, Albertsons can never come with a 6-foot letter. They would end up with 300, 350 square feet. It's not going to work. So they're going to be stuck with that. And that, I think, is the criteria that you should be.
I think we've kind of come to a decision on the Stater Brothers. We're now talking about the 4 letters.
Oh, I beg your
4
pardon.
words.
Yeah,
Well,
it's the
I
word.
think we need to, I think we need to vote
All we're
on
trying,
that, though,
all
before
we're
we
trying to
say
do
too
is
much.
get the vehicle to get this thing done.
Oh, now comes Mr. Millennial.
Well, not exactly. I'm with you all. But I have learned a huge amount of information about the research and everything that was done. And it is marketing. And absolutely, they've gotten rid of. We all would look for seafood, deli, liquor, what have you. That's the way most grocery stores do it. They're getting rid of all of that. Now it's the fresh, the organic. That's the deal. That's the big mover for all these folks. And again, full service. I wouldn't know what full service means. I think it was a gas station for all I know. That's why we're all the same. That's not what they think. And they've got this research. I mean, I've seen it. They've spent thousands to get what they want. It was amazing, the whole process. Just the name Stater Brothers and what it looks like. If you go back to the early 60s, and there's still some stores that have those big S like that. So they've took the old and they mixed it in with it. They're getting positive. I was concerned, when they did it. I thought maybe they were making a mistake. It's just boomed on these other locations. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Well,
I think we should,
Okay. I appreciate the comments, okay.
I think we need a motion to.
I think I would make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Hold it.
Yes?
The city attorney had some information, I think,
Thank
that
you.
will.
Go ahead.
Right. If I may, Chair and Commissioners, one of the things that, we've been discussing among staff is that the code, at least for the extra secondary signage, and we've been talking about full service, local, fresh, Wells Fargo is a secondary sign as well.
Yeah.
The code looks at the number of secondary signs. I think staff is recommending 2, in the 2 total, right? Wells Fargo would be counted as one of the secondary signs.
Yeah.
And the other point is the code doesn't really look at the content of it. So I know there's been some discussion about full service and what does that mean and so on and so forth. But the code is really focused on how many and how big, right? So that's kind of the focus of the conversation.
Wells Fargo is one word. Self-service, one word.
Wells Fargo is one sign.
It's one secondary
s-
sign.
One secondary.
So the code refers to sign, not the number of words.
Right. So, yeah, so we're looking at staff's recommendation as 2 secondary signs. There's one existing secondary sign.
So the secondary sign, if you crunch this all down in one thing, you could put them all in there, full service, fresh, blah, 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 on a sign, and it would follow within the deal. It looked like garbage, but it would fall within the parameters of the code.
Amanda's shaking her head. What does that mean? What's up, Amanda? Go ahead.
We didn't put a restriction on the square footage
Yes.
for the other plan sign programs. For other shopping centers have had the square footage requirement for any secondary sign to not exceed 50 square feet. That's the requirement in the Foothill Ranch Town Center.
What is this?
This one didn't have a square footage that would be allowed for the different secondary
Okay.
signs. We were just recommending to reduce it to a
Okay,
total
okay.
of 2.
Then if it were, to me, full service encompasses it more than fresh and.
Well, but that's not really
don't
our
recognize
decision.
not what we're doing.
That-
We're not
We're,
talking
we're
about-
just
not-
here about
not talking- okay.
Wells Fargo plus 1.
Okay,
Wells
okay,
Fargo
okay.
plus 1.
Okay, one at a
I
time.
don't have any problem with Wells Fargo
one at a
plus
time.
1.
Well, it's
And Stater
interesting,
Brothers.
if you talk about 50 square feet, though, if you go back and you add all these up, it's less than 50 square feet.
We're not, for the purpose of this, we're not concerned with the context or the content of the sign.
That's
We're just concerned with the size and number of the sign. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because technically, if you
The-
look at it, the 50 square feet would fit within what he has here.
Now,
If you add those 3 up.
Once again, it is the number of signs. Okay. how you squeeze what into it and look
Or-
good,
Or do you
that's the
count these
problem
three
that you guys
letters, or
got.
do you count these
I
three
think
letters as one sign?
we're to the point we're going to have to go move forward on this one. I'd like to go ahead and
Well,
close the
the other
public.
question too is, do these three sets of letters constitute one sign?
No, they do not. They
How
do.
how do you define that, though?
You define the sign. The sign is not the content.
No,
The
no, no.
sign is
No,
a sign.
but if all this was made into one sign, one
Yeah.
sign box, then it's
Be
one
one.
sign.
Be one.
That's my contention here.
Yeah.
If you did that in 50 square feet, all of this would fit in one sign. And I guess my question is, does the language of the code open that up? Does it make that possible?
Well, as Amanda said, this particular plan sign program as proposed didn't include a square footage. But the concern with the secondary signage is we have an elevation of a building and all of a sudden we've got signs. It's a clutter issue. So it's not about the content, it's how many boxes of additional signage that we have when we view it. So it doesn't matter how many, if it all fits and it's all together and it's in this location, the other location is here, those are two secondary signs because we don't really get into the content. But what we feel is cluttered is when we have sign and a sign and a sign and a sign and a big sign. That's a lot of additional and secondary signage. You know, we get to this, we want signage to identify the business, not be advertising.
Right.
So we're not going to regulate contents. We're just saying two pieces of secondary signage, whatever they want to put in those two pieces, but not signage, you know,
Per se.
in many locations.
Okay. I understand perfectly because the Wells Fargo is a sign, okay? And it
And it
serves a
counts.
purpose and it identifies.
Yeah, and it counts.
Okay. Stater Brothers is a sign that I'm willing to go with the large S, provided it's stipulated or, and when you bring it back to us, that we understand the reason for its acceptance is the fact of the font and the fact that it is not too much sign, okay? The secondary sign, I can go with a secondary one, okay? What the content of that sign is, I will leave to staff. Does that work?
Yes, it's just one additional secondary sign.
That would be my motion.
Excuse me, Amanda has a comment?
I was just going to add the municipal code does require that the square footage of any sign is calculated by 8 continuous lines. So if you see on page 3 of 8, the Stater Brothers sign, they have a dashed line around due to the S being a little bit taller. So to your point, Chair Ludden, if you each individual sign, the secondary signs, you wouldn't be able to calculate just the square footage of the sign. You would have to calculate the whole boxed area, meaning that you would calculate the negative empty stucco square footage
That
as
counts
well.
into it. Okay, that was the clarification I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion.
I think we need a motion.
We did. I made that as a motion. I closed the public hearing.
Okay, then what do you do? Okay, well, then let's clarify the
Okay,
motion.
The motion is
you're going to,
close the public hearing.
okay,
Ask staff to bring us back for our review, the resolution for it, but to approve the sign with the 7-foot S, with the understanding the only reason we're doing so is because of font and the fact that it is proportional to the place that it's being positioned, and to allow for the secondary sign. So two secondary signs and the main sign.
So as I understand it though too, if we approve of that, they don't need to bring this back to us.
Yeah,
The
they
only
do.
reason
I'm
they're
a second
bringing-
it.
Okay, thank you.
Chair-
The only reason they're bringing it back is because of the wording that we have with the conditional aspect of the large S.
Right.
We're just trying to substantiate, but we could approve it tonight. That's just a,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's approved, whether up or down. We just bring back the resolution so we can authorize and say, yes, that's what we want.
That's correct. The resolution can go back on consent
Right.
and just to approve the wording of it.
Very
The one thing I wanted to make a point of is, theoretically, if we allowed 2 secondary signs is what I believe that is your motion, the applicant, we don't look at content. So
Correct.
theoretically, the applicant could take it down Wells Fargo and put put something else as a secondary sign
Correct.
as well. So I just
We're
wanted to
not
make sure that there was
concerned
that
with content.
flexibility there.
We're not concerned with content. Okay?
So exactly what's our resolution with respect to the secondary signs? I
There's
just want
nothing-
to be clear. So we're not discussing.
We're
that now.
authorizing 2 signs plus the Stater Brothers with the 7-foot S.
Okay.
Based on the criteria, because of the font, that's the reason why we're acknowledged that. That would be brought back as a consent item.
And we're also acknowledging this is a unique situation.
That's what it's all set up to be. That's what the whole sign program is all about, uniqueness.
Our city attorney, do you agree with that?
Chair, whether I agree that the basis of the large S approval is uniqueness. I mean the staff will take the commission's.
I'm not worried so much about that as I am about the secondary sign. I think that whatever language you put in there with respect to the 7-foot letter, I think is probably what it is. But I'm just concerned how we deal with this issue with the secondary sign.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong. What I've heard is issues of clutter, and that there's already a number of tenants, small tenants, that have sign after sign after sign, and so on this space. The commission is looking for kind of a
Proportional.
lesser
Okay.
overstated signage by having 2 secondary signs. That's
Okay.
we can go back and listen to comments, but that's the thrust of what I heard.
Yeah. Well, that's what I just want to be sure, because that's going to be the basis going forward. So, okay, I'm fine.
But that was staff recommendation too, 2 signs.
Yes. We're really going back to staff's recommendation.
Right.
Except for staff's recommendation was a 6-foot sign.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the words, Mark.
Okay,
I'm not
yeah,
going
yeah.
back
We
there.
were talking specifically about the secondary sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you second?
I
hear
did.
you? Okay.
Okay, so it's second. I guess we can call for the vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Barajas absent.
Very good.
Thank you very much. I guess you still have a phone call to make. But thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time and your effort here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll open the public hearing for item number 5, and Community Development Director Gail Ackerman will introduce this item.
All right, item number 5 is a site development permit for a master landscape plan for the common area slopes and parkways for the Serrano Summit Development. And Debbie Drassler, our contract senior planner, is here this evening with a staff report.
Hi, good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. This item is a request to establish a master landscape plan for the common area slopes and parkways within the Serrano Summit project site. The plan contains specific landscape species, plant installation sizes, plant height and widths, and streetscape paving materials for the associated areas within the project site. As discussed in more detail in the staff report, the landscape design intent is to create a distinctive street scene identity for each street through the impact of street trees along Serrano Summit Drive, Olympus, Palisade, Lucania, and the west side of Civic Center Drive. Additionally, the proposed landscape includes background landscaping trees planted behind sidewalks and climbing vines to screen the MSE walls, facades, ground cover and shrubs to add different textures, colors, and heights, and a roundabout design featured provided at the south end of Serrano Summit Drive to encourage drivers to proceed slowly and to reduce traffic noise on the street. The roundabout does include stylized plant groupings that reflect the architectural theme of the community landscape. The intersection of Olympus and Palisade is highlighted with unique accent plant materials and a 4-way crosswalk with enhanced interlocking pavers, which emphasize pedestrian safety and accessibility. All common landscape areas will be maintained by the homeowner association, and as conditioned, will comply with the city's water efficiency landscape ordinance in the zoning code. The landscape material proposed in the common area slopes and parkways modernizes and updates the plant palette described in the area plan, while remaining consistent with the overall intent of the landscape design guidelines. Overall, the project, with approval of this site plan permit, will be in compliance with the city zoning code and Serrano Summit area plan. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution to approve the site development permit for this project, subject to the conditions of approval. The applicant is here in the audience tonight, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
I have a question. I got a question for you. And this is going to sound dumb, but that's just the way I am. Graphic 5, okay, it's the enhanced intersection site plan. I notice it's just identifying the crosswalks, et cetera, et cetera. However, there are 2 black dots, okay. Are those there for a reason? I tried to go through here and figure out what they were. I don't believe they are anything of substance, but I don't know what they are.
Is graphic 5, oh, on the staff report?
On the staff report,
I'm sorry, I was
yes.
looking in the.
Oh, I'm sorry, staff report.
My bad, maybe, let
Yeah,
me see.
You're bad.
2,
Page 127, it's 9 of 14.
there we go. Oh,
What are those?
I think those were just asterisks that they included in the overall plans to identify
Oh,
the
okay.
material, and it just wasn't taken out on these plans.
I looked for an asterisk to identify what it was.
It was a test.
I just didn't want to find a fire hydrant or something of that nature in the middle of the crosswalk. So, it's little
Eyes are really good.
little levity is good for everybody. Okay, that's all I question I have of staff.
Do we have any other members of the public wishing to speak on this matter?
We do not.
Has the commission secretary received any written communication?
I have not.
Is the applicant in the audience?
Yes.
Would the applicant like to say something? Nothing, huh?
I do
You're
have
going
a
to trust us 100%?
Yeah, I do have a question for the landscaper, just a general one, if you.
If you'd come up and give us your name and place of residence, please.
Name is Fulia McWilliam. I live in San Clemente.
Great. Just the question, if there's a couple areas where you got pine trees.
Mm-hmm.
Every pine tree that I've ever seen does nothing but drop pine needles everywhere and pine cones, and they're a mess.
Right.
And so, is this the type of pine tree that it's going to just cause a huge mess all over the sidewalk, streets, and whatnot, or is
All
this
pine
a
trees
different-
are a little messy. We're just genuinely trying to match what's happening on the other side with the Civic Center Drive. That was the reasoning for why we picked the pine trees. Because it's the only area where we're actually using pine trees in the whole
Yeah, I
project.
noticed there are not a lot of them, but I
Yeah.
guess I just love pine trees. But anyway, I was just
We
curious.
do get a
if
lot
this-
of mixed reviews on pine trees.
I was just wondering if this was the type of pine tree that doesn't drop as many pine needles.
It's not as messy, but we'll still see some droppings.
Yeah, it's not like the Alapo.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Just curious. Just curious.
I have a question too also. I noticed some of these are pretty good sized trees, the camphor, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
I like the place where they were put because I think they're proper there. I do have a question though, as far as roots are concerned with the camphor, because I noticed some of them are along the walkways. And we're putting in root barriers.
Always.
But, what are we, okay. My association's 35 years old now.
Mhm.
Okay, and we're now experiencing the beautiful tree roots. Okay, the barriers, they're going to hold it back for a while. Do you have any idea what we're looking at as far as, are they in a place where we're going to have adequate root deal?
No, I mean, we'll use, the root barrier specifications have evolved quite a bit too.
Okay.
And we tried to also meet the city ordinance with the spacing. I believe it's like 30
feet,
Yeah,
something
so
like that.
we did try to meet that spacing. I do understand there's a lot of neighborhoods that trees have been planted way too close together, no matter what you do.
And that
Once they
was
mature.
the primary reason why
Yeah.
for my question. I noticed they were in the parkways,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I know the pine tree gets some pretty gnarly ones, and I didn't see
Mhm.
any pine trees I can recall in the walkways. The camphor was the only.
No,
one.
yeah, they're mostly
Is the
behind the
camphor
sidewalk.
noted for large root balls?
Not so much. I mean, I know we have some already existing.
Okay.
When we approached the project site, that was the whole reasoning why we're even bringing in the camphor trees. Just kind of, as you go into the project site, you've already had the camphor tree experience, so why not bring it into the community? And they seem to be doing well. It's not like ficus trees, fig trees, or
Yeah, I noticed also that
they're not
you-
surface rooting, if
Right.
that helps.
Sycamores were not recommended because there's a
The bug
virus
problem,
there
yeah,
going on
state-wise,
with
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
think sycamores are overstated and they just look sickly all the time.
Yeah.
Good choice. That's all the questions I've got for you,
Okay.
I think.
I did have one question. Pine trees usually have problems if they don't get enough water.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of problems in the association I live. The pine trees have all pretty well died unless you've got special irrigation for them. Are you making provisions for that with the pine trees?
So all the trees will be on a separate irrigation system. Our irrigation consultant is aware of all the species that we're putting in, all the nutrients and everything that each plant species will need. We're trying to be very conscientious of that. And HOA will maintain these too, so that's going to also help with the establishment and the future maintenance.
So from your perspective, this particular plant palette is about as water efficient as we could get in this area?
Yeah, and the water, we're using reclaimed water too, so
Okay.
we think that that's also going to help with that.
Okay. Commissioner Fuentes, you have any questions? I'm surprised.
Want to bring it up here?
Okay. Okay.
All right,
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing? Bring it up here.
We don't. I was just going to make a couple of comments and then I'll move on to that. I like the variety of the tree specimens that they've put into place, and especially with the turnabouts. I think the camphor in those turnabouts is going to be a statement that's going to be made, and that's one of the things that I noted in this, that I think it's nicely laid out, and where you want to draw attention to the magnitude or the size of the tree. I think you've done very well in those particular situations. My knowledge of the trees, the only one I didn't was the dragon deal. I didn't see where that was placed. I don't recall seeing that. Yeah, please.
So we're using those at intersections as accent trees
Okay.
because they're very sculptural looking. They're single trunk, and they have this really
Unique.
cool. Yes, they're very, very unique, and it helps to create some hierarchy too with the tall trees in the backdrop, and then we're against the slope too, so it just sets up nicely.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I also noticed that all the deals along the walls, it's three-tiered. Almost all of it's three-tiered.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure we screen
Yeah,
things and
I,
create layers.
Personally, I'm very pleased with it, and
Thank you.
okay, we ready for a motion? I'd like to go ahead and close. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to close the public hearing and approve the
You recommend staff
ballot as
recommendation?
presented.
Wait a second.
I'll second that.
Any other comments? Call for the vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Barajas absent.
Very good. I know.
And not a contributor at all. You grumpy? You grumpy tonight? You guys been picking on me.
Okay, we're ready for director's comments. Director Ackerman, do you have any comments for the evening?
We place up on the dais the announcement for the 2019 Planning Officials Forum. Once again, it's at the Nixon Library on October 17th, 7:30 to 3:45. It's a great program. I know a lot of the commissioners have attended in the past, and this year there's a special planning commissioners track. As you remember, we had a gentleman come forward at one of the meetings saying we were trying to get planning commissioners together to associate with each other. So they have a whole tract just for planning commissioners on understanding traffic impacts, the Brown Act, public processes and policy, essentials to be for a successful planning commissioner, and discoverable records. So you may enjoy some of the other topics that are geared more towards planners, but there are some that are very specific for networking opportunities for planning commissioners. So if you would like to attend, please let us know via email. We'll sign you up, and the flyers are there on the dais for you.
Okay, City Attorney?
No comment. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Armando, do you have any comments for the evening?
No comment.
Commissioner Fuentes?
Amanda, good work. And of course, Debbie, always good work. But Thank you.
Vice Chair Carter?
Thought the reports were very well done, clear. And sorry, Jolene, if we picked on you a little bit tonight, but sometimes got to get you engaged one way or the other. So that's intent. Just want to remind everybody, October the 11th, there's a event coming up, which is for the Boys and Girls Club. It's called our gala, and it's going to be a festival deal. So if you haven't received any information you want some, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I think this was a very, very productive evening. I think staff, you did a great job. There's some difficult issues tonight, and I thought you handled them all very well. So I appreciate all your efforts on that. And I guess you're going to have a little bit more work to do, but I'm sure you'll do fine. With that, I think we will adjourn until our next meeting, until October the 10th. Thank you very much.